Uh, Good morning. Today, my specific purpose is to explain how training is different between a 100-meter runner and a 10,000-meter runner. Uh, my pattern of organization would be topical order. If you guys didn't already know, I'm part of the Fulton College track and field team, and I'm a sprinter, which means I run the 100-meter and the 200-meter. Today I want to clarify to you the difference, the intensity difference for between training for the 100-meter and the 10,000 meters. I will be incorporating my personal experience with track and field, as well as the research I've done to break down the steps of training of the athlete as much as possible to you guys. I'm pretty sure you guys have friends or family member that are in track, either they're a sprinter, a long distance, or mid distance. After this presentation, you'll be able to differentiate the training intensity between a 100-meter runner and 10,000-meter runners. I want to break down this is a picture of a track, Cerritos College. A track consists of 2 straightaways and 2 curves, which makes a 400-meter. One straightaway is 100, that's 100-meter, and a 10,000 meter is 25 laps around this 400-meter track. The first thing I would like to talk about is the running part of the training. 100-meter runners usually run on the track, and sometimes they run hills to get the leg strength up. And everything 100-meter runners have to do with speed. In 1987, Gary Winkler and Vern Gombertler wrote a book called Sport-Specific Speed, which indicates the type of training, the types of training volume that can be used to develop the 100-meter energy system. And the energy system is breakdown, as you can see here. On this side is what the training does, or what the purpose of the training is. This is the second column is what the training does. The third one is the distance. The fourth one is the percentage of the speed you're required to go. The second to last one is the rest and the reps you're supposed to do. And the last one is the combination distance of the whole workout. Like for example, the first one says extensive tempo, and what it does is it works on your aerobic capability, and anything greater than the 200 meters, we'd be running at least 70% of the time, or 70% of speed, and at least 45 seconds of rest, and 2 reps of it, which gives you like a total distance of 1,400 meters. That works on your aerobic capacity. Let's talk about this one. The speed endurance works on your lactic power, which is about 80 meters to 150 meters. If you go 95 to 100% for 6-minute rest in between and 10 reps, which combines for 300 to 600 meters for distance. It's when it comes to 10,000 meters, it's different. They work on different things when it comes to the running part of the training. They run the actual 10,000 meters at 5% faster than the actual pace they're gonna run the race, to improve the leg speed and the ability to so-called pick it up in a race. The second, they run the 10,000 meters at the actual 10,000 meter pace. At the actual pace they'll run the race to improve the volume of oxygen max and resistance to fatigue, and to train their body to operate at the required pace when they run the 10,000 meters. The third one is to run 5% slower than the actual pace for the 10,000 meter race. to improve their lactate threshold and teach their body to function for longer periods while they're running. That would be it for the training, the running part of their training. Now let's talk about the strength part of their training. When it comes to weight room part of these athletes, it's very different. They're very different from each other. In order to get faster, 100-meter runners have to go to the weight room at least 5 times a week, and they have to do specific workout that's designed by the coach for them, and not just a regular workout they find online, because the workouts sometimes they find online is to build like muscle for everyday life, not for sprinting. The most important part, muscle group to work for a sprinter will be the lower body, because that's where their power comes from, every step they take. But most importantly, they work on their back, the hamstring, and shoulders when they're in the weight room. The lower body, the hamstring is very important to a sprinter, because it helps them keep their top end speed for as long as possible, for as long as they can. And when it comes to the weight room for 10,000 meter runners, they don't go as much in the weight room, because if they go to the weight room like the 100 meter runners do, it affects the way they look physically, and it affects their weight. And the heavier they get, the slower they run in the 10,000 meters. They go in the weight room at least 2 days a week, and the 2 days must be separated by at least 48 hours in between. And when they're in the weight room, they have to lift light weights and longer reps so they can build up the muscle they need to be strong, but not too big. And the last part I want to talk about is the mental part of their training, the most important part, because to run the 10,000 meter, you need to focus for at least the average time of 34 minutes, and for the 100 meter runner, all you need to focus is for like 11 seconds, which is not that much compared to the 10,000 meter runner. Today, I've talked to you about what's the difference between. As you can see here, on the left is Usain Bolt, the world record holder for the 100 meter, and on the right is the 10,000 meter world record holder, Kenenisa Bekele from Ethiopia. As you can see, the difference between them going in the weight room, it looks more like a person that goes into the weight room, and he doesn't. And yeah. As you can see from the example I've given you, there's a big difference in a 100 meter runner and a 10,000 meter runner, the different intensity between the training. And myself, I run the 100 meters because it doesn't take that much energy as the 10,000 meter does, and it doesn't take as much more mental focus for a 100 meter runner and a 10,000 meter runner. Yeah, thank you.
Michael, what did you think?
I had a delivery request. Delivery?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Well, about everything, but you can add delivery to it.
Okay. First, his thesis was pretty clear. He just wanted to explain the differences between the two types of running styles. And then I thought the visuals that he used complemented the things he was talking about. They went along with. They weren't just going up there. He was kind of going over them as he put them up there. The differences in the training, whereas one of his strong points, he made it very clear, like, that they're totally different in the way they exercise and train. Two things that he could improve on, just move away from the desk just a little bit, because the desk is like right next to you, you know what I mean? And then the papers, they're really big. Like, I know you want to look at your notes, but just bring cards so you don't have to be moving the papers, you know what I mean? And then other than that, I thought it was pretty good. Just the papers were a little bit distracting.
Okay. Let's focus on the stuff that is very clearly good. I think it's very well organized. You do a good job signposting at the beginning where you were going to go. I do think your transitions between the points need to be a little bit smoother. It sometimes just feels like I'm done with that and let's move to the next thing. And it needs to be, there's got to be something that makes it flow a little bit more smoothly so it doesn't just sound like you're talking in checkpoints. I think that you started off with pretty solid information. You had a little bit of trouble giving the source citation. It seems like you need to practice those names a little bit for the authors of the text. And I assume that some of the other information that comes up later on is from similar places, and I didn't think that that was being cited as consistently in the speech. I like the visuals for the most part. I thought that they were integrated into the speech pretty well. The table graph that you have there that fills the whole screen with all of the numbers and everything, there's too much information there. You talk, I think what you could do, for instance, is take the two that you talked about, separate them out, talk about them, and then add to the whole chart and say, and it's not just those two things, there are dozens of things that you're doing, and then we could kind of see how much more complicated it is than people really think it is. And I thought that you did a pretty good job kind of explaining that, but there were a few of those numbers in each of the lines that I'm going, okay, wait a second, what does that mean? And it wasn't until after you were kind of through with that I understood what you meant by running 5% of the speed, and that's something that I think needed to be explained during that process, and it just felt a little bit unclear. All right, so those are the good things about the speech. There are a couple things that are problematic. You start off, you've got no attention device. You basically start with your purpose statement. And then you kind of give a little bit of information that might have worked as an attention device, and then you give the purpose statement again. And then you give us a preview, and then you give us the purpose statement again. So you've given us the purpose statement 3 times in the opening of the speech. Nothing wrong with emphasizing that idea, but don't forget that you've got to pull us in, create some reason for us to care about this. I like that you've got a personal justification. I think that explains why you're talking about it, but you also want to give us some reason to care about that. Why should we find this interesting? The idea that most of, when I think of people training for a race, I think, well, that means you run around the track. What's so complicated about that? It's much more complicated. How do you run around the track? What is your plan on doing that? What things do you have to do to get ready to run on the track? What do you do afterwards? The timing stuff, it looks like it's a heck of a lot more complicated than I think most people were aware of. And you kind of need to set up the idea that there is more here. What goes into this preparation? I think you could create maybe a good story about either of those two guys that you showed the pictures of at the end. Might have been good about what made the difference for them in their training. If it's not just natural talent, but it's hard work that they're doing also. You could point out, Usain Bolt's muscles in his legs and how, he's bulky or something along those lines. The delivery, I kind of agree with Michael on a couple of things. You got the pages in front of you. When you aren't looking at the pages, you do a nice job speaking to the audience, but you do have those pages up there in front of you, and that's a little distracting. And I didn't catch you doing it. I've seen other people doing it today, so I don't want to accuse you. I didn't notice that you were doing it. Whenever people stand over on that side next to the desk, they start leaning on the desk. So I didn't see, I'm not yelling at you about that, but you are to the one side the whole time. And I'll tell you what, when you go to the black slides that you've got in the background, that would be a good time to maybe step up and make yourself the focus instead of, I'm going to stand over here and just narrate what's going on over there. Those are delivery things we're going to work on more next time. All right.